SEC, SEC, SEC. Yeah, I covered the conference up close for 7 years and heard that from places at Lexington's Rupp Arena all the way to the Peach Bowl, Death Valley, and otherwise the Grove in Oxford. Why I brought that up, I don't know. I was just watching the Manning story on the SEC Network and also one of the series editions of the SEC on ESPN on the SEC Network. So it got me inspired to finally get to this research right there. So a couple of weeks ago, the Pac-12 announced, and before we continue, this is the voice of college football. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, subscribe right here for the best discussion, debate, and analysis. Not because of me, but because of you and your participation. Give me a call in our next call-in show. The Pac-12 announced a couple of weeks ago that it is abolishing divisions and will go with a 1 versus 2 seeding process for the Pac-12 championship game beginning this fall. So they're getting right to it. We looked at the Pac-12 and what that format would have looked like for the championship game in its title game history. The same for the Big Ten. Check out the videos. We will leave those in the description section. Also, now we look at the SEC, the longest of the championship games. Roy Kramer and his baby. It was his baby to determine, let's play a conference championship game, and it almost backfired on him that very first season. Alabama, undefeated, had to play an extra game, and thanks to Antonio Langham, it saved the SEC and provided a national championship opportunity for the Tide in '92. But let's look at the championship results and how many times we would have seen the same matchup in the SEC title game and how many times it would have been different. 30 games, 16 times the same. The other 14 would have provided a different matchup. 2021, Bama, Georgia, two best teams in the conference. They would have matched up otherwise. In 2020, though, we had Bama, Florida, but the team that beat Florida, Texas A&M, would have had a rematch with Alabama had we not had divisions, as they both would have been 8-1 in conference play. All right, LSU and Georgia in 2019, same game. 2018, Bama, Georgia, same game. In 2017, Auburn and Georgia, they matched up in November, of course, and Auburn won the first game at home in resounding fashion. Then Georgia came back and won the rematch to win the SEC championship game. Well, it would have been Auburn, Georgia, or Bama, Georgia, depending on the tiebreakers there in 2017. So also the same matchups in 2016, 2015, and 14. Also 2012, we see 2009 and 8 and 7 and 6. Also the same matchups for the SEC title game, and 2004 and 1999. And 94 and 1992, the same matchup for SEC supremacy. Where would we have seen different matchups? Well, we talked about 2020 with Texas A&M getting its first appearance in the SEC championship game. And in 2017, the possibility, depending on scheduling and tiebreakers. 2013, we had an Auburn-Missouri matchup. Well, we would have had maybe an Auburn-Missouri matchup, but the Tide was also 7-1, so we may have had a rematch of Auburn and Alabama. 2011, of course, LSU and Georgia en route to a SEC championship for the Tigers and a trip in the BCS championship game. It would have been maybe LSU and Georgia, but again, because of tiebreakers, Bama would have factored in as well in a possible rematch. In that game of the century, 9-6 in overtime. 2010, our matchup was Auburn, South Carolina. Step aside Gamecocks, their only SEC championship game appearance in their history in the SEC, dating back to the first championship game. Arkansas, South Carolina, both joining the league in 92, the year of the inaugural game. In 2010, step aside South Carolina at 5-3. It would have been Auburn and Arkansas. 2005, LSU, Georgia. Step aside Georgia, LSU, and Auburn, both at 7-1, would have played in the SEC championship game. In 2003, we've got an LSU-Georgia matchup that then becomes LSU. And look at this. Eli Manning and Ole Miss would have made the SEC championship game. The Rebels have never made it. We've got Vandy, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Of course, out of the new participants in the league that joined in 2012, have never reached the SEC championship game. In 2002, Arkansas, Georgia becomes Georgia against either Florida or Bama, depending on tiebreakers there. 2001, historic game between LSU and Tennessee, knocked the Vols out of BCS championship game contention, and it would have been Tennessee and Florida in a rematch that particular season. We had in 1998, Tennessee, Mississippi State. Of course, the Vols marched on to the first BCS championship. They would have faced a rematch with Florida, 7-1 over Mississippi State, 6-2. In 97, Auburn, Tennessee would have been Tennessee, of course, but might have been Florida, Georgia, or LSU, depending on tiebreakers, but not Auburn. In 96, Florida, Bama would have been Florida, Tennessee. Florida and Tennessee were mighty dominant in the 90s, of course, because 95, again, you've got Florida, Arkansas, do away with the divisions, and you've got Florida and Tennessee. And then in 1993, again, that Alabama-Florida matchup that was the first three, 92, 93, and 94 championship games in the SEC becomes once again, Florida and Tennessee. We appreciate you stopping by here at the Voice of College Football. Please, don't be a stranger. Hit the subscribe button and the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, which is all through the week, talking college football with you. And if you see a helmet back here, most likely we've got a team channel for it. Check out below our number of team channels, and please subscribe there as well. Right here at the Voice of College Football.